Hey everybody, it's Jason from the Texas Gun Vault, and once again I'm coming to you with another range report. And in today's range report, you're going to get a 2-for-1. We're going to review two pretty darn cool Ruger products. The first one is this Ruger 1022 Takedown. I'm kind of surprised that I have not reviewed a 1022 in one of the more standard configurations yet. I have reviewed one in an M1 carbine chassis, but that was a limited edition gun. But today we're going to be taking a look at one of the more common variants of this firearm. The other thing we're going to be taking a look at is the Ruger Silent-SR integrally suppressed barrel for this gun. And this is a standalone part that you can buy. And essentially, it is a Ruger 1022 barrel with the silencer built in. Therefore, you can have a suppressed 1022 the same length as your regular 1022 without the need of an additional tax stamp for an SBR. And these are really easy to install if you have a Takedown model. Just take off your original barrel, install the integrally suppressed one, and you are ready to go. So in this review, I would like to compare and contrast the performance of this rifle, both unsuppressed and suppressed, and see what I discover. I also want to see how effective this particular barrel is. So before we take this to the range and talk about the things that I like and don't like, as always, I want to thank the people that make these videos possible. First and foremost is the owner of this amazing Ruger 1022 setup. He's a local fan and subscriber named Jack. In fact, he's the second person named Jack that lends guns to the channel. And the logistics of this one were obviously a little bit more intense, so I really appreciate his time in helping me make this video. I always want to thank my Patreon supporters because through their monthly donations and support, they help keep the lights on around here, and I couldn't do this without their support. And if you guys want to join my Patreon for as little as $1 a month, you get to see all of these videos early. There's a link in the description below. And as always, I want to thank my primary sponsor who always provides the ammunition for these range reports, thus making them financially feasible for me, my good friend Mark from Brownworks. And I know if you're a subscriber and viewer of the Texas Gun Vault, you love guns. You love collecting guns. You like cool guns like the 1911, the Beretta 92, the CZ75, and the Browning High Power, just to name a few. And you probably have an incredible collection of your own. And you might be in the market for a set of wood panel grips to make your pistols unique and one of a kind. Well, I have the perfect grip company for you. Brownworks. Brownworks is a custom grip company making a wide variety of grips for a wide variety of firearms out of a wide variety of exotic woods and materials. Mark is an artist and he's a craftsman. He's always coming up with new and innovative features to add to his grips. He can apply custom logos, custom textures, custom engravings, finish these grips on a wide variety of colors. He can even apply exotic materials like snakeskin and alligator skin to these grips to make them unique and one of a kind. Anything you can imagine, Mark can make. So I'm going to put a link in the comments section below, as well as a coupon code for 10% off your first order. So please go over there, check out everything he has to offer, and when you place that order for your first set of custom grips, please tell Mark the Texas Gun Vault sent you. Alright, so once again, let's talk about the rifle we will be reviewing today and the really cool barrel. The Ruger 1022 Takedown, obviously chambered in 22 long rifle. The base rifle of the setup we will be using today has a really cool blue finish to it. Let me show you the barrel. It has a barrel shroud that is ported or vented. It is threaded and it is finished really nicely. And I believe that is a stock finish from Ruger. And then of course, we will also be looking at the Silent-SR integrally suppressed barrel. And that definitely looks really cool. And most people looking at this rifle from another vantage point would have no idea that is a silencer. That is really darn cool, and I like how easy it is to attach. So before we go to the range and test this setup out, as always, I like to talk about the things that I like and don't like, and I always want to talk about the positive things first. And the first thing I love about what we have on the table today is the reputation of the Ruger 1022. It is a classic firearm. Everyone knows it's a reliable design and it has a huge aftermarket. In fact, the aftermarket is so big that you can build a 1022 and not even use a single Ruger part. There's a company that manufactures everything for this. So it's kind of like an AR-15 of 22 rifles. You can build the rifle of your dreams. Now, I personally like more the stock setups, but I know people have made these into amazing firearms just using aftermarket parts because it's such a standardized design. And one of the reasons I also think this rifle is so popular is that it is very easy to use. It's a great training rifle. If you're taking somebody to the range that has never fired a gun before, this is one of the perfect setups to put in their hands. It's light recoiling, it's easy to use, it's not scary. All of the controls are in pretty obvious places. The trigger in it is pretty good. It's a very accurate rifle in general. I just like the fact that everybody from beginners and novices to expert shooters can use this rifle well. The other cool advancement that we've seen in the past 10 or 15 years when it comes to the 1022 is the use of the SR-25 magazines. I remember when I first got my first Ruger 1022, it had that 10-round rotary mag, and there weren't many other options out there. But finally, Ruger listened and said, people want something with more capacity. And these things, for me, have run really reliably. I've never had an issue with them. I think they are a little bit on the big side for just being a 22 magazine, but they seem to be about the best you can get for this rifle. Never had an issue with them, no failures at all, and they are pretty darn affordable. The other thing I really like about this setup, you already know, is the main reason we're here. This barrel. I love the fact it is sold as a standalone product. It seems to be well built. You can take it apart for cleaning, which you should be able to with any 22 suppressor. It comes off with a little nut here on the front, and I love how compact it is, and it just blends with the lines of this rifle so well. But now let's talk about the one thing about this gun that I don't like, and it's the same complaint I have with every single Ruger 1022, and that is the bolt hold open. Now, these guns do not hold the bolt open after the last round. It's not going to happen, and I always hate it when I'm at the range and I'm shooting and I get that click. Yeah, I'm a little bit sad that I'm out of ammo, but I wish the gun would tell me that I'm out of ammo. Every other gun does this, including a lot of 22s. And if you want to hold this bolt open, you have this really awkward lever on the bottom you have to push down. And I've actually struggled with that a few times, so it's kind of weird to use. It's not bad, you just have to get used to it. I just wish there was something that was more logical and easier to use to hold that bolt open. Now, the last thing I want to show you is how good this trigger is, or I really think how neutral this trigger is. This gun, as far as I know, has the stock 1022 trigger in it. Now, I do know that Ruger sells enhanced or upgraded triggers, but for most of the models, you're going to get a basic trigger, and I think that's what's in this. So I want to adjust the camera. I want to show you what this trigger is all about, and then we're going to get this to the range and see how it shoots. So let's go ahead and take a look at the trigger in this Ruger 1022 Takedown. We'll go ahead and drop the magazine, ensure there is no ammunition in it, set that aside, and then of course visually inspect the chamber, make sure there is no ammunition in it. Now, according to the Ruger manual, these guns, even though they are rimfire, are safe to dry fire, because I know some people will tell me in the comment section, you can't dry fire that, but Ruger says you can. So let's go ahead and check out this trigger. I'll give you a close-up. Obviously, it is a single action trigger. The take-up is really short, but honestly kind of gritty. We hit a spongy wall, and maybe you can hear some of that sound. And then it breaks pretty cleanly. Let's check out the reset. Little bit long, but the reset is tactile and audible. And then we have this little bit of a spongy take-up again. Let's take a look at that one more time. Yeah, a little bit longer than what I would want. But for a basic plinking .22 rifle, it is perfectly fine. So let's see what this trigger actually weighs when it comes to its pull. Let me go ahead and turn on the Lyman trigger pull weight gauge. Let's clear the averages out. And let's test it. And our first pull, 4 pounds, 6.5 ounces. Four pounds, 11.7 ounces. 4 pounds, 11.6 ounces. 4 pounds, 11.9 ounces. And finally we have 4 pounds, 10.1 ounces, which gives us an average of 4 pounds, 10.4 ounces. So it's a pretty good trigger pull, as I said, for a stock .22 plinking rifle. I think there's better aftermarket options out there, but right out of the box you get an okay trigger. Alright, so it's time to finally get this thing to the range. Now these are going to be my first shots through this gun, and I want to test both barrels. So I know right now I have the integrally suppressed barrel on this, but we're going to start unsuppressed, then I'll install this barrel and see if the group changes and the performance of the gun changes at all. So let's go to the range and find out what this gun is all about. Now the first thing I want to say after reviewing the range footage is that the camera, and more specifically the microphone, does not really pick up that much of a difference between the unsuppressed and the suppressed version of this gun. But I can tell you in person there is a huge difference. It really sounds a lot softer. According to Ruger's information, they say that if you're using standard velocity ammunition, it gets the decibel level down to 113. But I have no way of testing this. I can only tell you what I am experiencing, and I can tell you the difference between this barrel and this barrel is quite significant, even though I was using CCI mini mags, which are a supersonic velocity, but I'm so far very impressed with the performance of this. Both barrels had very good groupings. They seemed to be very consistent, and I was very surprised that even though I switched them out, they pretty much grouped exactly the same. But I do need to adjust the sight just a little bit. So I'm going to do that now, and I want to retry this test and see if I can do any better. And now that I'm getting used to this rifle a little bit more, I am discovering that the unsuppressed barrel is grouping a little bit tighter than the unsuppressed barrel. I'm not 100% sure why that is, but I can tell you to my ears, when I'm shooting this suppressed, it sounds like some of the projectiles are going down range at a supersonic velocity and some are at subsonic velocity. But I'll have to measure that a little bit later in this range report. But I want to continue to shoot the suppressed barrel because obviously this is the one most people are going to be interested in. And I want to see if I can shoot it a little bit better and get this group a little bit tighter. So I'm going to add about 5 yards to this distance on the target. Just continue to shoot this suppressed and see if I discover anything else about this gun that I like or don't like, and I'll report back to you. And for some reason, I just can't get this group any tighter. I just get a big discrepancy between the impact on the target with these projectiles. And I am using CCI mini mags. Now, I'll tell you, it's not a target ammunition. However, I think everybody would agree that CCI mini mags in general are pretty consistent. So now I'm kind of curious. Is this suppressor changing the velocity of this ammo? Well, I want to test that out. And luckily I was at the range and one of my friends, who's also a VIP member of the Frisco Gun Club, was there. And he had this new really cool Garmin chronograph. And so we're able to test out these velocities. I'm first going to test out this rifle with the unsuppressed barrel, then the suppressed barrel. And maybe we can get to the bottom of why this barrel is just not as accurate. $11.91. $12.02. $11.76. $11.86. And $11.96. $11.38. $11.58. $11.72. $11.67. And $11.80. And as you can see, the velocities were a lot different when it came to the suppressed barrel. In fact, the deviation between the highest and the lowest and the average differences between those velocities was bigger. What was really cool about that Garmin is he was able to send all of that information to his phone, and he sent me some screenshots, and it can analyze all of that data. Unsuppressed, the standard deviation was 9 feet per second, and the biggest spread was 26.6 feet per second. But when it came to the suppressed barrel, we had a standard deviation of 14.4 feet per second, and the spread was 41.8 8 feet per second. And that is really big, and probably why some of those rounds were sounding subsonic to my ear. And that big of a deviation and that big of a spread between the velocities could be adding to the inaccuracies that I'm getting with this barrel. So I think you obviously get the advantages of a suppressed barrel, but you might get the disadvantages of inconsistency when it comes to the accuracy. But now I want to see what the best I can do with this rifle is at the longest distance at this range. And yes, this is a rifle that can go out much further than 25 yards. However, right now I just want to test this out with a red dot, not a scope, at 25 yards and just see what the best group I can get with it, once again, unsuppressed and suppressed is. So let's go back to the range and let's see what this rifle is capable of. And I think those are some pretty good groups for just a standard and stock Ruger 1022 with just a red dot and no magnification. But as you can see, the suppressed group was a little bit bigger than the unsuppressed group, and I'm doing my very best to see how consistent I can get the two. The unsuppressed barrel just seems to shoot a little bit better and tighter groups. Alright, so the next test I want to do are some ammo tests. Now so far in this review we've been only using CCI mini mags, but now I want to transition to CCI Quiet. Now this is ammunition that has a very low velocity. It's mainly designed for bolt action rifles that are suppressed. I don't think it's going to cycle in this gun, but I'm curious how quiet it would actually be. And as expected, the CCI quiet did not cycle in this gun, even with the suppressor, but I can tell you to my ears, it was really quiet. I only heard a little bit of the bolt trying to come back and just that little click of it coming forward again. I don't really think there's much of an application for this because obviously in a semi-automatic rifle, you want the gun to cycle, but it is really, really quiet. And this suppressor on this Ruger does an amazing job. I think it does a better job than all of my other 22 suppressors that I own. All right, so the next test I want to do is try to see if it's going to run hollow points or some type of hunting ammunition. I think the biggest application for this gun is if you're hunting small game, something you can just take with a 22. And you're obviously going to want to use some type of varmint ammunition. Most of the time they have hollow points. And you want to know, is it going to run reliably in this gun? Well, let's go back to the range and find out. And like every other Ruger 1022 I've ever shot, we have no problem with hollow points or defensive or hunting ammunition whatsoever. These things just run like tops and goes back to that reliability and reputation I was talking about in the earlier part of this review. I can tell you to my ears, however, it sounded like every one of those rounds were supersonic. So take that for what it's worth. I don't think the suppressor slowed those rounds down whatsoever. All right, so the last test I want to do is really not a test. It's just me wanting to have some fun with this. So I want to do a 25 round mag dump with this thing, obviously with the suppressed barrel. So let's go back to the range, have a little bit more fun, and then I'll give you my final thoughts. And simply put, this gun is so much fun to shoot. You can shoot it fast, but it's such low recoiling, and of course 22 is the best plinking caliber. You can put this gun in the hands of a beginner or novice, and it's going to help them grow with their shooting confidence. So even if you're an advanced shooter, this thing offers so much. It's just a great rifle from start to finish. So what are my final thoughts on the Ruger 1022 Takedown with the Silent-SR integrally suppressed barrel? This is an awesome setup, and I'm glad that Ruger now offers this suppressor for this platform. It seems to be well built. It works really well. My only issue with it is I'm getting inconsistent accuracy, and that's with pretty much all ammunition. That's the only thing that I'm really disappointed with it in. But you're going to trade that accuracy for the suppression, and I think this barrel offers more suppression than pretty much any other suppressor out there that is designed for 22 long rifle. But unsuppressed, with the standard barrel, you can't beat it. There are so many options for this gun that you can customize it to your heart's desires and build a rifle that would last for a long time. You can hand it down and it's going to remain accurate. It's going to remain customizable. It's just simply one of the best, if not the best 22 rifle on the market. So on my star system, how would I rate the Ruger 1022 Takedown with the Silent-SR barrel? I'm going to give it 4.75 stars out of 5. Almost a perfect review. If I was able to get better groups with this barrel, it'd be 5 out of 5 stars hands down. But as it is, I lost a little bit of accuracy. Maybe it's the change in velocity, or it could be something else. And I'm curious what you guys think, and you need to tell me in the comment section below. So tell me, did you even know that Ruger made this barrel? And if you own a Ruger 1022, Do you want one? Tell me in the comments. And, as always, thanks for watching. What's going to happen with the performance of this gun with this really cool integrally suppressed barrel? And because this is a Takedown model, this is really easy to install, and I f***ed it up. As always, I want to thank my Patreon supporters because through their monthly... Damn it, it's hot. It's hot.